The Hyundai Santa Cruz, that compact pickup with a more lifestyle vibe, has become a topic of discussion because automotive websites and magazines in the United States reported that the brand is expected to end production of the model earlier than planned. The information did not come as an official announcement from Hyundai with a fixed date, but appeared in reports based on sources within the automotive supply chain, indicating that the automaker may be bringing the life cycle to an end due to lower than expected demand and high inventory levels at dealerships. In other words, there are Santa Cruz units sitting in lots for too long, and that is expensive because inventory is money tied up, and it usually forces the brand to offer incentives, discounts, and special conditions to unlock sales. The market's interpretation is that Hyundai is reorganizing its pickup strategy. Instead of insisting on a compact model derived from a sport utility vehicle, it may be making room to invest in a larger, more traditional pickup project with a more robust construction, aiming at the core of the American market where names like the Toyota Tacoma and the Ford Ranger are found. When we look at market data in the United States, it becomes easier to understand why the Hyundai Santa Cruz has entered the risk zone. In the years 2024 and 2025, the pickup sold around 25,000 units per year, a volume considered low by American standards, especially in a segment that is growing quickly. For direct comparison, the Ford Maverick, which competes in the same compact pickup space, comfortably surpassed 150,000 units per year, even while facing waiting lists, production cuts, and line changes throughout the period. This creates a brutal contrast in the spreadsheets. While one sells 6 times more, the other requires constant incentives to move inventory. Each unit sitting in the lot represents financial cost, logistical cost, and pressure on the final price. It is no surprise that many dealerships began advertising the Santa Cruz with aggressive discounts, cash bonuses, and subsidized financing, something common when a model does not keep up with expected sales pace. For Hyundai, this raises a strategic red flag. Keeping a low turnover production line means occupying factory capacity, engineering resources, and marketing efforts that could be generating higher returns in sport utility vehicles or in a midsize pickup, where the average ticket in dollars is higher and margins are usually better. The problem with the Santa Cruz in the United States was not exactly the product itself, but its positioning. For the average American consumer, a pickup truck is still synonymous with a tool: towing, carrying heavy loads, handling hard work, and off-road use. The Santa Cruz, on the other hand, was built on a unibody platform, the same logic as a sport utility vehicle like the Tucson, which delivers comfort, good drivability, and technology, but limits payload capacity, towing capability, and even the perception of toughness. In practice, many people looked at it and thought, it is too comfortable to be a work truck and too utilitarian to replace a sport utility vehicle. This middle ground worked for an urban and younger niche, but it was not enough to generate volume on a national scale. In addition, the starting price did not help. The Santa Cruz entered the market with prices close to or even higher than larger sport utility vehicles, and in some versions, dangerously close to used or discounted midsize pickup trucks. For the American consumer, this creates a simple dilemma. If I am going to spend more than $30,000 US, why not buy something bigger, with more capability and more real truck status? The result was limited acceptance, concentrated in large urban centers, while the heart of the pickup market, interior regions, suburbs, and more rural states, simply was not convinced by the proposal. When the Ford Maverick entered the American market, it hit exactly the points where the Santa Cruz was vulnerable. The first was price. The Maverick launched with a starting price below $25,000 US, something almost symbolic by United States standards, creating the perception of an affordable pickup from the very first contact. Even if few people actually bought the cheapest version, that number psychologically pulled the entire lineup downward and attracted a much larger audience to dealerships. The second success was clarity of purpose. Ford marketed the Maverick as a simple, functional pickup, unapologetic about being basic, including a more Spartan interior in entry-level versions. This speaks directly to the American consumer who wants a truck for everyday use, personal projects, small loads, and weekend leisure. The third point, perhaps the most important, was the hybrid version, something the Santa Cruz never offered. In a market where fuel costs still weigh on the budget, the hybrid Maverick delivered fuel consumption close to that of a compact sedan, but with a pickup body, effectively becoming a gateway vehicle for people who had never owned a truck before. By combining a lower price, a more straightforward proposition, and better efficiency, Ford managed to turn the Maverick into a sales phenomenon, while the Santa Cruz always seemed to require an extra explanation to convince the buyer. From a strategic point of view, the decision to discontinue the Santa Cruz makes a lot of sense when we look at the American market as a whole. Hyundai realized that, in the United States, pickup volume and profit are concentrated in the midsize and full-size segments, not in compact trucks. Midsize pickups usually carry higher prices, expensive option packages, off-road versions, and higher margins per unit, exactly the kind of product that justifies heavy investment in engineering and local production. By keeping the Santa Cruz in the lineup, Hyundai was occupying factory space and resources with a model that delivered limited returns, while competitors make significantly more money selling larger trucks. For that reason, reports indicate that the brand is reallocating efforts to develop a more traditional midsize pickup, with a separate chassis body on frame construction, greater towing capacity, and an image more aligned with what the American consumer understands as a real truck. It is not that the Santa Cruz was useless. It worked as a test project, helping Hyundai understand buyer behavior. Now, with those lessons learned, the brand prefers to bet on a product that speaks directly to the core of the market, rather than continuing to fight in a small niche that is highly sensitive to price. At the end of the day, the possible discontinuation of the Santa Cruz should not be read as a complete failure, but rather as a course correction by Hyundai within the reality of the American market. The pickup showed that there is interest in smaller, more urban, and comfortable models, but it also made it clear that this audience is not large enough to sustain a project of this scale without constant discounts in dollars and pressure on margins. For those who already own a Santa Cruz in the United States, the impact is likely to be small in the short term. Hyundai remains obligated to provide parts, warranty, and service for years, and discontinuation often even creates good buying opportunities, with more aggressive pricing and dealership incentives to clear inventory. Looking ahead, however, the message is clear. Hyundai wants to play on the main field of pickups, where the largest volumes, the greatest prestige, and, most importantly, the highest profits are found. By moving away from the compact segment and aiming at a more robust midsize, the brand signals that it has learned from the experience and prefers to compete directly with established names, rather than insisting on a middle ground that the American consumer never fully embraced. In short, the Santa Cruz exits the stage not because it was a bad product, but because in the United States, it is not enough to be different. It is necessary to sell a lot and generate returns, and on that front, it fell short.